If you are a fan of two guitar bands, as I am, then you have definitely heard guitar harmonies. And this is whether we're talking about a band like the Allman Brothers or Thin Lizzy or Def Leppard, any band that had two guitars that might play melody. And harmonized melody just means that there are two instruments playing melodically at the same time, and that the relationship between the notes played by those two guitars is harmonious, that those notes blend. There's a couple of different ways that that works. There is interval to interval, and there is line to line. So let me explain what I mean by that. The term interval just has to do with the distance from one note to the next. So for example, between an E and a G is the interval of a third, because if I count the letters, E, F sharp, G, then G is the third tone. So we would call that a third distance. Now, one can harmonize a scale. Let's say I take, well, for simplicity's sake, a G scale and play it on one string. My open B string harmonizes the G, so I can take this G scale and add what we would call a third harmony above, meaning that I am adding a note a third above every scale tone. We would call that parallel thirds, and that is probably your most common form of harmony. When you hear two notes that are harmonizing, it is very often thirds, but it doesn't have to be. We can have fourths. Different sound, not at all sweet like the thirds. But not a bad sound, just a different flavor. We can have parallel fifths, but we don't tend to hear that as harmony. That tends to make things into riffs. Parallel in the sense that every pair of notes is basically the same distance apart. One goes up, the other goes up. They follow each other, or rather, they follow exactly the same contour. We're not obligated to do that. Sometimes the line itself has enough integrity that even if there are clashing notes involved, the direction of the line, and this is a concept I've referred to numerous times before, this is sort of the underlying stuff behind the theory, right? Direction of the line, meaning where it is suggesting to your ear that we're going. The direction is strong enough that it pulls your ear to the strong notes, the harmonious notes, and allows you to accept the dissonant ones. I want to play through this harmony line. What you're going to hear with the track is the primary melody first, and then on the second time through, I'm going to come in with the harmony, and then we'll talk about it. This is our primary melody, our main theme. Here comes the harmony. You see how much flavor that harmony part adds. And this is an example of a not quite parallel harmony. The harmony part is shadowing, following the contour of the main melody. But it's not always following exactly. Because the two parts, I mean, in some settings, when you are listening to a harmony part, those two parts are really meant to make one sound. Almost chordal while it's melodic at the same time. So that is happening here, but let's look at what's going on. Our opening lick of the melody does this. So that's starting on the 5th of the scale up to the 6th, down, jump back up. So we're going to start the harmony on another scale tone, on another chord tone. So we started the melody part on B, the 5th of the chord. We're going to start the harmony on E, the root of the chord. Now that means we're a 4th apart already. And then we get this. Well, is this following what we did before? Sure it is. In the sense that we have our starting note, we go up, we come back down, we come down again, we jump up, we resolve down. But if I look at the parts together, and this is where you need to not get hung up, because if I tried to do this following the math, it would not work out as well. You do have to use your ear. You do have to use some musical instinct here. But here's what's happening. B and E harmonize, creating the E minor chord. C and F sharp are dissonant, but we come right off it. We then drop to an A and a D sharp, which is also dissonant. And then we get C and F sharp again. Well, that seems like it shouldn't work. But then you hear it together. Your ear is drawn to the melody. The fact that there are dissonant intervals in there doesn't really bother us. Let's see what happens if we keep going. The melody doing this, harmonized by, well, that gives us this. That's parallel thirds, and it's definitely a sweeter sound. And then this lick, harmonized by. By the way, referring back to natural minor versus harmonic minor, notice how in the opening lick of the harmony I used a D sharp. But in this third lick, I'm using a D natural. And it has to do with what I'm harmonizing. It's going with this. More dissonance. Fourths instead of thirds. It's just a different sound. But you will find guitar harmonies mixing fourths and thirds all the time. Let's continue on, see if this holds true as we keep going.